Hello everybody, I'm Bets Golden. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I thought it would be fun to create a mix kind of a card using the Coffee Talk line by Joy Claire. This is a really cool stamp set. I had a lot of fun with this over the last couple days, and we're going to be making a coffee card, but we're going to be using one of those I don't even know, they're like SVG files. I'm so not techno savvy, but we're going to be using that to create the card, in that it's a cut file. It's from the Cutting Cafe. I'll have the link provided down below. I do not have a, I don't have it set up in my home or my craft room with my computer set up to my scan and cut. So I'm going to tell you how I use those cut files. The first thing though, I want to show you, this stamp set is just so much fun. Oh my goodness. It's called Coffee Talk, and basically what you can do is you stamp your coffee cup, right? It's empty. You put your background in it. I love the lion. That's my favorite, I think, out of all the ones that are that have the design. And so like with this one, it's blank. So on top of it, you can put whatever sentiment you want. It is so fun. You do need a stamp platform for this, just because you want to make sure that you get the correct alignment. The stamp platform I'm using is no longer available, but I will have some listed down below that will work for you for this. So I'm going to be using, as you guys know, I'm using them all the time now, these Archival minis. Best purchase I've made. I almost didn't do it because I have a lot of ink, but darn, these things come in handy to do this. And then also to do the top, I'm going to actually show you how to layer on one of these on top of this. And you may be thinking, well, if it's black, how are you going to do that? Well, Brutus Monroe pigmented ink in alabaster works beautifully on top of dark. So I'm going to show that to you as well. First thing we need to do is lay out our coffee cup. So we're going to lay this out like so. I'm going to get my magnets kind of in order here. I'm actually going to, I think I'm going to move this over. I'm left-handed, so my coffee cup always goes like that. Apparently we're going to do it like this. A lot of people are not left-handed, so we're going to do it that way. All right, so we're just going to pick this up with our stamp platform, and let me rotate it over. Going to ink it up. Before I do that, let me tell you the cardstock I'm using. Elizabeth Craft Designs has a soft finish cardstock, and basically it's a soft texture on one side, smooth on the other. I've been searching high and low for good cardstock, and this stuff is amazing. So yeah, and that's what this is. All right, I'm going to ink this up with a Dusty Concord, the Archival Mini. And I'm going to do it this way just because I tend to work on my side better. And that's a pretty good impression, but I want to go one more time. All right. Now that's an excellent impression. Let me switch it out. I'm going to clean my stamp as much as I can. It is going to stain because it's an archival ink, but I'm totally okay with that. It's not like it's going to transfer the ink. So I just like to pick up some of it as much as I can, but I mean, there's nothing on there. I just wipe that up. So after I did my little stamp squeegee on it. So from here, I want to go ahead and pull up that blank, the center of my coffee cup, my liquid. And then I'm going to just lay this in here, line it up to the best of my ability. And I have to say that sometimes they can get a little tricky to line up, but these are relatively, they're pretty good. I'm really impressed with them. All right, so I'm just going to pick this up. And another way, if you're concerned that, you know, the paper picks up with it and you have movement on this and it's not going to line up, all you have to do is just make sure that you butt one of your corners in the corner of your paper. And then if you're concerned, you can just butt it up again and you're fine. So don't worry about that. That's so easy. And of course, I'm going to use ground espresso for this, right? And I'm probably going to do that another time. Pretty good coverage, but I want it really dark. So I might do it 2 or 3 times. The reason is because I'm going to put a sentiment over it. So I just want it dark. Almost. One more time, and then we'll do the sentiment on it. And I'm going to do Coffee and Jesus. Okay, that's really nice, right? So now the coffee cup is totally coming together. And from here, I just want to put my sentiment on. So this can be the tricky part, finding the right ink in which you can put your sentiment on that will show. And I've discovered that the best is really the Brutus Monroe pigmented ink in Alabaster. It's a really great ink and it works beautifully on dark colors. Plus, since you can also emboss it. Actually, let's do tall, dark, and rich. All right. No, I want Jesus and coffee. Because sometimes that's what you need in the morning, is you just need coffee and Jesus. All right. I know for me, that's what I need every morning. The latter more so than the former. So I just line that up in the center like so. And I'm going to pick this up. Something else you could do is you could like leave it white and then do your sentiment in black or in cocoa, and it would look like, you know, like the whipped cream on it would look like the cinnamon or something on top, or like they wrote it in syrup. But I kind of like it like this better. All right, so there's once. See, it totally showed through. Just for good measure, though, we are going to do it again. With this one, it's super important that I do clean my stamp because this is a pigmented ink and it will transfer. Doesn't dry super fast. So look how cute that is, right? Love it. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and color this in with, I've discovered that the distress markers work really well with this. I'm going to be using Victorian Velvet and pumice stone to do this. So I just go in first with my pumice stone like so. And get that spoon done. Then I go over my cup, my lighter color. Now you could do Concord and Grape on top of this, the same color, Dusty Concord, excuse me, that I stamped this in would be totally fine. However, you might end up losing some of your lines and it might just be too dark. So I like there to be a definite variance in color and shading at least. So I'm just going to go over all of this. I'm going to run over it too, since this is a distress marker and the alcohol in it is movable, though it does hold its shape better than a lot of watercolor markers. So I would not call this a watercolor marker by any stretch of the imagination, because it kind of just softens the lines when the water goes on it. But I really, really like the look once I run a wet water brush over it. So if you're looking for more of a watercolor type effect, I would recommend a different marker. Nuvo has aqua markers that are beautiful for that. And I have a couple of videos out on that too. All right, so from here, I don't want it to be perfect. And I'm going to take my watercolor pen and I'm just going to loosen this up. And as you guys can see, I totally need a new pen. My bristles are a little frazzled. And then I just go over it and see how it just loosens up that color and really makes it move around. But it's still keeping the shape of the lines quite nicely of, you know, like up here, then I'll move it around, but you'll still be able to see where I was more heavy-handed when I was shading this in than in other spots. So I really like that about this kind of marker. It's a nice in between of like an alcohol marker and a watercolor marker. So there is my image all done. Now from here, what I would do is I would put this on my scan and cut, and I would cut it out, or I would use a little circle cutter to get it ready for my card. And here are some other images that I've done. I was just having fun and I just did these off of this as well, all with the same product, all with that nice Archival ink, the distress pads, and then the distress markers. So I used just different colors. So let me just show these to you. They're so adorable. This one is Miss You. Then we have the Stay Strong. Then we have a nice little image. And then we have another coffee break. I will go on now. I want to show you how to put together a card using these, using just your basic cut files that you can purchase. I got mine from the Cutting Cafe, and it came with 3. So this is a card base. This is the topper, and you actually need 2 sheets of each of these, 2 of these. This, excuse me. This one is larger than this one so that you can layer it. But what's nice is it's going to hold a gift card in it. And so that's going to be this. And that's why you want this topper, because you want the edges to go around your large, your large or your little coffee cup and not show through on the other side of your card base. And then all of these. So I went ahead and cut those out, and this is what I was left with. And I just used, and what I did, okay, so I got to back up. What I did was I took a stencil spray, it's a temporary adhesive spray, sprayed the back of this because my scan and cut mats are shot. I need new ones. And if you use like a temporary adhesive lightly, it'll totally work. And so that's what I've been doing. That's why the back is a little bit tacky still. So I printed this up from the cutting file. I put it, scanned it into my scan and cut. I saved it as a pattern, so I can totally get rid of these sheets now. I don't need to save them anymore because they're saved in my machine. And then I just loaded up my paper that I want to create from, and I hit cut, and it cut. And this is what I was left with. I just used a whole bunch of stuff from my stash. I was left with, and I'm going to use this one I've already pre-done for this. This is Tall, Dark, and Handsome. And then it just cut these out, and it was kind of nice to burn through the stash a little bit. So these are all the pieces that it cut out for one card. Now, I did make a multitude of cards. I did a total of 10 because I wanted there to be a lot of variation. But I recommend if you do this, since this one piece is in 3s, there's 3 pieces to it. Not this one, but this one. Actually, there's 4 pieces. I would recommend you did this, made 2 to 4 cards a time. That way you can get a variance in your design and you're not stuck with like pink, 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 pink. You know what I mean? So I like it to be a little different. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to assemble my card. And I'm going to do this one with Tall, Dark, and Handsome. I'm going to set this aside for now. I don't need this card base. I will stamp a sentiment on the inside of it though, as well as on my card. And I'm going to use my foam pad for that. Don't really need my platform, but I'm going to, this orange is my small, so I'm going to be working on this orange. And the first thing I need to do is I need to fold and create a spot for my card holder. So I just fold it over. You could use a score. My scores are all, it was too hard for me. I couldn't figure it out. So you're just going to fold it over like so. And then the bottom up so that it's flush. And what I like to do is I do like to just slip this in to this just to see how it all works, if it lines up well. And it does. So from here, I'm going to open it up a little, and I'm just using a craft glue. This is what was on my desk. It's an all-purpose glue by Brutus Monroe. I'm in no means I'm trying to push Brutus Monroe today. I used to be on his design team, and his products have always been pretty spot on. I've really enjoyed them, and it just has been on my desk. So that's why I've been using a lot of his stuff on this, is because it's good and it worked well. So it's okay if you get goopy on the back, because again, we're gonna put this on this back piece. You won't even be able to see. All right, so from here, I'm just rubbing it because I just want it to hold. I have to do this for just a couple minutes. And this is the perfect size for a gift card, which is so cute. I love it. All right, and then on this one, I'm just going to take and put this on. So we're just going to assemble the card from here. And I do have some stuff I want to do with pop dots and whatnot, and so I have to do that kind of at the end when it's already on the card base. But I really like this little cut file. It's so cute. Really cute. And then there's this little piece as well. And I like to put it right up about there. I'm not real worried about that little spot. It's going to dry just fine. It's going to be clear. No big deal whatsoever. Now, before I move on, I do want to stamp a sentiment on here because I'm doing tall, dark, and rich. So the sentiment I want on the front is going to be All right, so just going to do this, and I'm going to use, I'll just use black suit on this. I'm going to kind of put it off over here, and you'll see why in a moment, because I'm going to add something up there. I found something in my stash that I'm super excited about, and I'm like, ooh, these look really cute on these cards. So, all right, and then I'm going to put in the sentiment on the inside of the card. Since I just have my stamp set out, I'm going to do coffee is my love language. So I'm just going to stamp this on the inside of the card. Again, I'm just going to use that black suit. There we go. Now that's not real clear, so what you can do actually is change your color. I'm going to change it to, let's do Dusty Concord. And you just are going to do a shadow stamp over it, and what that allows it to do is it'll look intentional, And you don't have to get it perfectly lined up, but it'll be clear in it and it'll look like a little shadow behind it. So it's kind of a fun technique. I learned that in the Ranger booth. And then I'm going to go over it just one more time with Vintage Photo. And this time I'm going to kind of offset it, really try to offset it. Okay. So from here, and I don't want to fold it quite yet, because when you fold it, it creates a bounce in your card. It's like a spring and things don't line up. So it's super important that you wait to fold it when everything is done. Now, if you already have a crease, that's no big deal. You just flatten the card. It's not huge. All right, so from here, I actually am going to take, I have from my stash, I bought at Joann's these little coffee buttons. I thought they were so cute. I also bought poop emoji ones. I'm sorry, but that's just my personality. But I pulled these out to create this card because it is just so cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, behind this, kind of string this on and put it on up here. So what I do when I tie these is I go over like you would, and then when you're about ready to come under to create that first tie, I just go under the base like so. That way it'll hold it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just thread my button through from here. Like so. That's why I wanted that space right there. And I'm just going to do a simple knot. I don't want any of the bow showing through, so I'm just doing a simple knot. If my fingers will work with me. All right, so it's going to get lined up like so. Just going to take my scissors and just snip away the excess. And then we will put our coffee mug on it. And then I have something I want to show you that you can do to really amp this up. So from here, I actually am going to start to assemble the card because I want to do everything on the card base at this point. So I'm just going to put this down, and by doing it this way, it allows the back to be nice and clean. So when you open it up, you don't see this wrapped around. This is really clean. I just wanted to make sure that I had my sentiment in the right spot. Okay, and then from here, I'm just going to assemble this, and I'm just going to make note to place my adhesive down not quite to the edge. And the reason I'm doing this on the card base and not on this is because I have a little bit of a bump right there, and it may not adhere in that spot if I try to apply it to the back of that. I might not get a nice lineup. So look how cute that is. Isn't that cute? Okay, and the cozies are always big. I love that that's, you know, that really looks like a cozy on there. And then I'm going to put my Tall, Dark, and Handsome on here. I'm using pop dots because I do want there to be a little bit of dimension. Like so. And then to really set this off at this point, I'm going to take some crystal glaze. This stuff is awesome. It'll give a glassy finish. I like it because it looks kind of liquidy. But the trick is you really want to, because it will slide around a bit. So you kind of want to lay it out in a bit of a thin layer. You don't want to get it too thick. If you're noticing that it wants to run, then use the little tip or a needle to let it run into the spots that haven't filled and kind of work it around as you do this. And this will make your coffee look like it's liquidy and you can see through it when it dries. It's really cool. And I'm going to show you some examples of some cards that I've made using this. And why it's important that you don't layer it on too thick. I learned that the hard way as well. So you can take your gift card and it just slides right in there like that. How cute is that? All right, so let me show you some examples that I have of this with this stamp set. I just had so much fun with it, I couldn't stop. So I'm going to set this aside to dry up here. And it does take a little bit of time for that to dry. So this is the first one I did. It's and then coffee because crack is bad for you is my sentiment on this one. And you see how pretty that glaze is on top of that. It's so cute, right? Then we have All You Need Is Coffee and Jesus. And then I don't have a sentiment on the inside. I'll put one on later. But again, look how cute that is. And there's even some bubbles in there, which I really like. But notice I layered on way too much glaze. And look, it went out and over. So it's super important that you go with a lighter touch on your glaze. You'll elongate the product life as well. And you'll get a better, it'll go where you want it to go. Then I have two more. This one is the other one, and it says, I'm going to mail this one to my mom. Hello, love. And then the inside is coffee is my love language. And then this one is my favorite image, and that's the lion. And I just did hello on the top because I realized that the card was going to be covered. And coffee is my love language. So this is such a fun, great project to do. I think it'd be really cool teacher gifts, and the cut files made it easy. And even if you don't have a silhouette, or you don't know, like me, you don't know how to set up your computer to your, your cut machine, and not that I couldn't learn, because I could, I just don't really care to because this works. Definitely give those cut files a chance because you can create some pretty cool stuff with them and have some fun designs. All right, you guys, again, I'm Bets Golden. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Feel free to share this video. I would love that. It helps me out so much. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Until next time, happy crafting.